Let's get more on this. We're joined by Becker, who's the Advocacy Director of the Children's Rights Division at Human Rights Watch. Many thanks for joining us live from New York. This is not actually the first time the UN has blacklisted Saudi Arabia. They did this last year and then dropped them from the list after what some say is Saudi Arabia putting pressure on them against these accusations. Saudi Arabia has again said they have nothing to do with this. Do you think the UN is going to stand by their decision this time? And what does it actually achieve, them blacklisting Saudi Arabia like this?
I certainly hope that the Secretary General stands firm on this new list. Last year, when Secretary Ban Ki-moon listed the Saudi-led coalition, Saudi Arabia and its allies exerted enormous pressure, threatening to withdraw millions of dollars of aid to UN programs if they weren't taken off the list. And unfortunately, the Secretary General did remove them. But now Secretary General Antonio Guterres has put them back on the list, and we are convinced that that's where they belong. There's no doubt that there have been violations by all sides in Yemen's conflict, but the United Nations has documented that the majority of child deaths has been because of airstrikes by the Saudi-led coalition. Hundreds of children have died, dozens of hospitals and schools have been destroyed. And despite Saudi assurances that they will do better to abide by the laws of war, these attacks continue, wiping out entire families. The Saudi-led coalition needs to take immediate action and change course and take real concrete steps to minimize attacks on the ground and their effects on innocent children.
So the fact that they are actually on this list now, what exactly does that achieve?
Well, for one thing, it creates a lot of stigma. Governments and armed groups don't want to be on this list. It's called a blacklist or a list of shame, and it indicates that the parties that are on it are there solely because they have committed grave violations against children. Now, the only way to get off this list is to enter into an action plan with the United Nations and set out concrete, time-bound steps to end these violations. And only after these plans have been fully implemented can parties come off the list. So the Saudi-led coalition needs to begin conversations with the UN immediately to negotiate this action plan and then get started.
The report actually does say that Saudi Arabia has taken measures to improve the protection of children in the conflict. Do you think that's a fair assessment?
The Saudi-led coalition has said that they've taken steps to investigate attacks and to more strongly adhere to the laws of war. But the proof is what happens on the ground. And we see attacks continuing that are taking the lives of children, that are destroying schools, and that are wiping out entire families. So as far as we can see, these have been empty promises to date. And what's really needed is concrete action. In addition, the governments that are arming the Saudi-led coalition should be cutting off their arms sales until we see an end to unlawful attacks.